Hi everyone, my name is Ambroise. I'm the founder and owner of Moto-Plaisir, a motorcycle rental company based in the Geneva area, in France, near the Swiss border and close to Italy. In this first edition of this presentation in 2022, I will be presenting what you can expect when you come in Europe, in France, Switzerland or Italy, to ride a motorcycle. So here is the summary of this presentation. First, we are going to talk about Moto-Plaisir. Don't worry, we will not spend that much time about that. We will talk about Geneva and why is it such a good place to start a motorcycle trip. The bikers' playground, the roads, we will talk about that. There are many different roads here in Europe. Of course, you arrive here, you don't really know where to go. There will be the answer. There are different ways to travel and book your accommodation. We will talk about that. And of course, frequently asked questions about bikes, gear, weather, and so on. So, what is Moto-Plaisir? We are a rental company based in the Geneva area, as we have already said, but we are motorcycle rental specialists. That means we do not service bikes, we do not sell bikes. We are really dedicated to motorcycle rental. The company has been created in 2010 and it has one of the largest selection of bikes in Europe. We try to have bikes for every budget and taste. And really our goal is to enable bikers to travel on a motorcycle through France, Switzerland, Italy. That means we provide the bikes, but also luggage cases, GPS, road books, guides. We book the hotels for you, and so on. So let's talk about Geneva. Why is it such a good place to start a motorcycle trip? First, it has an international airport with direct flights from 100 countries and with direct connections to the main hubs like Dubai, London, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Paris, and others, of course. You can also come by train easily from Paris or Milan with high-speed trains in about 4 hours. So Geneva has its international airport, but it's a kind of small city compared to most European capitals. So this gives you a quick access to great roads. No need to take the motorway for hours before you reach interesting places. This is important when you only have a few days for your motorcycle trip. By the way, Geneva is a beautiful town. You can walk by the lake and have a lovely dinner there. You can visit the old town. You can go shopping. It would be a good opportunity to buy a Swiss watch with prices from 30 euros to 300,000 euros. So yes, that's a good opportunity for you to visit. So now to better understand how well Geneva is situated, let's have a look at a physical map of France, Switzerland, and a little bit of Italy. So here you have Geneva, and what you can notice is that in a big southeast quarter, you have mountains that are in brown on the map. The darker the brown is, the higher the altitude will be. And when you have mountains, that means you will have nice winding roads, high altitude landscapes, and scenic roads. Here you have the Massif Central, and on the east part you have the French Alps. Going further east, in Switzerland, you have the Swiss Alps and the north of Italy and the Italian Alps, all the way to the Dolomites. In the southwest, you also have the Pyrenees, and Corsica is a great place to ride too. We have a lot of local customers living in the Geneva area who get on the bike, go south across the French Alps, and take the boat in Nice or Toulon to cross the Mediterranean Sea. It's really a great place to ride. In terms of duration for your trip, this is what you can expect. The round trip from Geneva to the French Riviera can take about 4 to 5 days, maybe a bit less if you don't go all the way down to the Riviera, but there are great places to ride in the south. 4 or 5 days is reasonable. If you want to go to the Swiss Alps all the way to the Dolomites, it can be 8 days. There are great places at about 3 days riding from Geneva, and going southwest in the Pyrenees will take you 7 to 11 days. Of course, beside these typical destinations, we have a lot of areas of interest, beautiful regions such as Alsace, Jura, Bourgogne, Auvergne, Dordogne, Cévennes, Verdon, the great Italian lake, etc. Remember, France is the first touristic destination in the world. There must be a reason, and that's the same for bikers. So let's talk about the bikers' playground now, the roads. For more than 10 years now, I've had hard times to explain how different it is to ride in Europe compared to countries like the US, Canada, Australia. When you tell to the customer that we have great winding roads and beautiful landscape, scenic roads, well, they don't have to trust you. So that's why I've been searching for facts and figures to try and explain why it is very different to ride in France, Switzerland, or Italy from these other countries. So here are the facts and figures. France, Italy, Switzerland have a density of paved roads among the highest in the world. So you measure that in kilometers for 100 square kilometers. France has 191, Switzerland has 204 kilometers, and Italy has 162. When you relate this to the number of inhabitants in the country, France has 16.3 kilometers of paved road for 1,000 inhabitants compared to 10.1 for Switzerland. That means in France, there are paved roads where nobody lives. If we compare that to other countries, UK is at 175 kilometers, and it quickly drops. The United States have 44.5 kilometers, South Africa 12.8, Canada 4 kilometers, and Australia 1.8 kilometer of paved roads for 100 square kilometer. As a conclusion, that means you have paved roads to go about everywhere in these European countries. Now let's have a look at the map of an area called Vercors, just about 2 hours south from here. What you can see, we have a plain on the west side and we have mountains in the middle, and you have a network of a lot of small roads. What you have to imagine is that 200 years ago, people were living here, growing food and breeding animals for their survival, exploiting the land. So these people were connected to each other through multiple short roads, as there were no cars at that time. These short roads, creating a network, have been paved during the 20th century. This picture is the one of a road called Combe-Laval, and it's been built at the end of the 19th century. That's a crazy road, so it had to be a shortcut to somewhere, otherwise it wouldn't have been done. So let's have a look now at the different types of roads. Let's start with the less interesting one, the highways, toll roads, or motorways, whatever you call them. They are of course very useful if you want to reach your destination quickly, but in my opinion they are boring and you have many other options. Be careful, the colors can be confusing between France and Switzerland. The upper picture is the toll roads in France, and the lower one are the not toll roads because there is no toll gate in Switzerland, but these are the highways signs in Switzerland. Fortunately, you can avoid them thanks to the GPS if you don't want to take them, if you want to save the money that you will spend at the toll gate, or if you want to avoid to pay the Swiss sticker. We'll talk about that very soon. This is a typical toll gate in France, the one on the picture here. When you ride a motorcycle, you should go under the green arrows. You can ignore the other signs. Be careful because the rate when you ride a motorcycle is lower than when you ride a car. That's why on some lanes there is a sign to tell the bikers don't go through this lane. It's not because it's forbidden, but you will pay the rate of cars that is about 50% higher than the one for motorcycles. In Switzerland, there's no toll gate. You have to buy a sticker to be able to ride on the motorways. You can buy this sticker in most gas stations in Switzerland. The price is 40 Swiss francs in 2022, and that's about it. You can ride anywhere in Switzerland. But again, if you avoid the motorways in Switzerland, you don't have to buy this sticker. Another type of roads are the national roads. You can use them to cross the country. They are the main roads just after the motorways. No toll gates, no need to pay to ride on these roads. But as they are the main roads, they are quite busy most of the time, and most of them are not very interesting. Same confusing colors between France and Switzerland. So these are the most interesting ones. The D roads, or départemental. These ones are the suggested roads. They are less crowded, they are scenic most of the time. On the other hand, they are a bit slow. Let's consider you will ride at 50 kilometers per hour as an average. You can ride this road setting the GPS on the winding route setting, and it's a great way to have fun riding beautiful scenery on less crowded roads, crossing small villages, etc. So you can just follow the yellow signs, and that's a good way to ride. To keep illustrating the many different types of roads and the density of roads, let's have a look at a Michelin map. The Michelin map are very useful because, of course, they show the different types of roads, like many other brands of maps, but they also show the scenic roads. The scenic roads are underlined with green on the Michelin maps. So now, this is a map of the area not far from here. You have Annecy by the lake on the west, and you cannot see, but Chamonix is in the top right corner. So what is interesting to notice is that if you want to go to Chamonix, or if you want to go southeast on the Route des Grandes Alpes, near Beaufort, there are many alternatives. You can go south around the lake or north, and there are several passes to go in either directions. So that gives you numbers of possibilities, numbers of combinations of roads to reach your destination. And as you can see, most of them are underlined with green. That means beautiful scenery and most of the time fun roads to ride. So now let's talk about the different ways to travel. There are three main ways to travel. You can be guided. That means you have someone who rides a motorcycle and is guiding the group. Self-guided, you are on your own, no guide, but you follow instructions on the GPS or map. And you can be 100% free. You just rent the bike and you go on your own. Guided and self-guided tours are pretty similar. A travel agent has organized the tour for you and booked all the hotels. You will be provided a booklet describing the tour, maps of the area with underlined roads that will be the roads you will take, a GPS to guide you as well, especially if you have no guide. And the assistance can be provided either by the guide who's riding with you or by phone with a dedicated phone number. These first two ways to travel are very easy. It costs a little bit of money because everything is organized, but you don't have to spend the time to look for hotels, and you can trust our travel agent that will for sure choose some of the best roads to ride and the best places to stop. But if you decide to go on your own, the common questions are where to go. If you don't know the area, you've never been here before, that's a good question, of course. Should I book the hotels as well? It's a common question, and we will see why it is an interesting question. And let's talk about the common mistakes that can be done when planning such a trip. So where to go? Let's say you arrive in Geneva, you don't know anything about the area. Where to go? That's pretty easy. Just follow the passes. So you just have to take a map have a look at the passes and go ride them. The passes will be in higher altitudes. You will have small winding roads to get up there, and it's a good way to have fun riding. That means some of the roads will be challenging with small curves, narrow roads, hairpin turns, and so on. So if you like that, that's a great way to have fun. You will also discover a lot of remote places with beautiful landscapes. Riding south in the French Alps towards Nice. There are about 160 passes, with 22 of them that are above 2,000 meters. And if you want to ride east, through the Swiss Alps, all the way to the Dolomites, there are about 380 passes. More than 40 of them are above 2,000 meters. In France, the most famous passes are the Col de l'Iseran, Col du Galibier, Alpe d'Huez, Col de la Croix de Fer, Col d'Izoire, Col de la Bonnette. All those passes are famous because of the Tour de France, of course. In Switzerland, the famous passes are the Furka Pass, Susten Pass, Grimsel Pass, the Gotthard, the Stelvio Pass in Italy, between Switzerland and Italy, Bernina, the Splügen Pass, beautiful places to ride with stunning landscapes. So let's talk about hotel booking now. As it's difficult to know your pace on the trip, if you've never been here riding in France or in Europe, it's difficult to know the weather forecast during the trip. Even if it's the summer season, you can have rain anytime, especially higher in the mountains. So your pace will not be the same under the rain or with a great weather. It's difficult to know the points of interest you will find on the way and how much time you will spend there. Let's imagine you find a beautiful place and you want to have more time there. So all that makes the plan a bit difficult. Let's have a look at this 2D chart. If you book all the hotels, that's comfortable in a way because you will not have to look for a new hotel every day. But on the other hand, if the weather is bad or if you want to spend more time somewhere, the flexibility is not great. You will have to go because you have booked the hotel. If you book no hotels at all, so you have a lot of flexibility, but it can be a bit annoying to look for a new place every day. So maybe something in between is the most interesting. Maybe you should book the hotels that are in the middle of your trip or the place where you can spend maybe 2 nights as you're having rest day over there. So there is no rule. It depends on everyone, the way you like to travel and so on. But you have to imagine that the weather and the time you will spend on the road are important to decide. Let's talk about the hotels you will be able to find on the way now. There will only be a few chain hotels on the remote roads and cities you will be riding. You are likely to find independent hotels that will be part of networks, as well as B&Bs and or guest houses or chambre d'hôte. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see logos of the most popular ones like Logis de France or Gîtes de France. The reasonable price range will be between 70 and 120 euros. This is more a French figure, as it will be a bit more expensive in Switzerland and Italy. To find a hotel, your favorite search engine will help, and it's better to use your search engine to contact the hotels directly. It's better than using Booking or TripAdvisor. The availability of the rooms might not be up to date on these platforms, and these platforms will not enable you to contact the hotels directly. If you stop in a city that has a tourist office, you can recognize the logo with a red eye. They are here to help you to find a hotel to your taste and budget. You can also just stop on your way and visit the hotel and the room. If the room looks okay and the price is right, go for it. Don't start to look too late in the day. You can start to look at lunch, as you will know approximately where you will be later in the afternoon. I suggest you don't start to look after 5 p.m. because if you don't find a place immediately, you will have the time to push a little further to find another place. And remember that a lot of bikers do that. So if you are the last one to arrive, there might be no availability. You can also find hotels that will be part of the network called Relais Motard. These places will enable you to perform basic maintenance on your motorcycle, such as chain tension. They can provide you some tools for this, so that's very handy. On the other hand, these hotels might not be the nicest in the area. Frequently asked questions now. We very often have questions about lunch and dinner. Gastronomy in France as well as in Italy, it's something. A typical lunch will be in the 15 to 25 euros range, and it's usually taken between 12 a.m. to 2 p.m. For the dinners, it's a bit more expensive, in the 20 to 30 euros range. Again, that is the reasonable price range. You can find much higher prices, and that does not include the drinks. The time to take a dinner is typically between 7 and 11 p.m. You will not be able to find fast foods like McDonald's or their competition in the remote places like through the French Alps, but you will be able to find a boulangerie that will be able to make you a sandwich throughout the day, a sandwich with baguette, of course, or many other different kinds. If you don't find a boulangerie, you will probably find supermarkets on the way where you will be able to find sandwiches or make your own picnic. Let's talk about the motorcycle gear. What is mandatory in France is to wear a helmet and gloves. All the rest is not mandatory. One common mistake is to use winter gear to ride the Alps during the summer. High passes are colder, but it does not last very long. So I've done a little chart here. Let's say you start in the valley, it's 25 degrees Celsius. You have the temperature, the right duration, and here you have the temperature depending on the altitude. So let's say you are in the valley around 300 meters. You go up on the pass, you arrive at 2,000 meters. It will be 10 degrees up there from 25 in the valley. But quickly you will go down the pass and you will return to 300 meters, back to warmer temperatures. So this does not last very long, maybe 1 hour or something like that. It's not really it will be colder up there, of course, but it's not really during that kind of ride you will be cold. It's not like riding during the winter under 10 degrees. You will ride like that the whole day, and that's very different. In such situation, you really need your winter gear. My recommendation is to be able to put on or off several layers in case you're cold or in case it's too hot. I have a lot of questions about heated vest, like will I be able to plug it on the motorcycle? I would say heated vest riding the Alps are useless. However, it is very important to have a good rain gear. Even if the weather is nice, storms are likely to happen higher in the mountains than in lower altitudes. So even if the weather is great, on a few days trip, you are likely to have a storm at the end of your riding day, especially at the end of the day after 5 p.m. So my recommendation is to have a good rain gear. We can lend you a one-piece rain suit if you don't have any. And my recommendation is to use this kind of rain gear. I know that pants or motorcycle jackets can be waterproof, but some of them get loaded with water and they will dry. You will need several hours to dry them, and it's likely that they will still be wet the next day because they will be so soaked in water. So as this rain gear is 100% waterproof. It will not load your riding gear underneath. So, and that can be important when you ride several days in a row. I hope you will not ride several days in a row under the rain, but you know, that can happen. So let's talk about riding off-road now. We have already seen this slide about the high density of paved roads in France, Switzerland, and Italy. So when it comes to riding off-road, it's not that easy. The gravel roads or the small paths are more dedicated for hiking. Most of them will be private. So you're not very welcome to ride a motorcycle in these places. Of course, I can understand that people coming from the US or Canada, Australia, when you're talking about having fun on a motorcycle, that means having fun off-road. But in Europe, it's very different. And I would say you should better stay on the roads, and there are so many, you will have fun. And again, beside the Alps, you have so many areas of interest riding a motorcycle that if you really want to ride off-road, Europe is maybe not the right place for that. What is the best time of the year? If you want to ride the Alps, you will be able to ride there between June and September. The highest passes, some of the highest passes only open mid of June, like the Col de l'Iseran, which is the highest paved pass in the Alps. So this one only opens mid of June, but there will be a lot of other passes opened. After September, the first half of October can be okay, but the weather gets a bit more unpredictable, and it can be freezing in the highest passes. So keep that in mind. If you want to ride at lower altitudes, it can be between April to October. And again, there are many other places to ride apart from the Alps. Let's talk about motorcycles now. We often have the question, what is the bike suitable for the trip, or what is the bike that will be able to ride in the Alps? The answer is pretty easy. Any bike will ride the Route des Grandes Alpes. There is no problem with that. It's not a problem of bike, but it's more a problem of which bike will help you to ride the Route des Grandes Alpes, or which one will enhance the riding experience. So it is more a question of what are you used to, what is comfortable for you, what is comfortable for your passenger if you have one. These are the most important questions. If you are young and the Harley-Davidson Breakout is your dream bike and you want to do the trip with this bike, well, go for it. There is no problem. But for sure, you have to know that the lean angle of this bike is not the best and the comfort is a bit on the stiff side. There's no wind protection. The wind protection is not really a problem in the summer when it's hot. You take your time. You will be on the small winding roads anyway, so the speed will not be very high. So the wind protection in such circumstances is not that important. If it's later in the season, if you will need to ride a bit on the motorway, so you will prefer a bit more wind protection. Do you have a lot of luggage? In such case, you will have to choose a bike with a good luggage capacity. And if you are used to ride a big Harley-Davidson Electra Glide, there is no problem to use that bike on the small winding roads. It's not a bad bike. It's just that the pace will be the pace of the bike. You do not need a motorcycle with off-road capabilities. As we have seen earlier, all the roads will be paved, and if you have a gravel road, it will not last very long. We see a lot of all-rounder bikes like the 1250 GS. It's just because the versatility of this bike is great. It has a great luggage capacity, good comfort for the passenger. It's fun to ride, powerful enough. It handles beautifully. That's it. So any bike will do the job. Just make sure you choose the right one for the best experience and good fun. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about my business, but of course it's important to choose the right motorcycle rental company. Especially when you come from abroad, you fly across the ocean and you don't want your vacation to be ruined by a bad motorcycle. There are more and more companies offering motorcycle rentals. They can be motorcycle dealers offering their test bikes for a rental. There can be local companies dealing only with local customers, and they mainly offer short-term test rides, etc. So they are maybe not used to welcome customers for longer rentals. There are a lot of platforms as well that are gathering content, are gathering fleets of multiple rental companies, and you don't really know what you book through these platforms most of the time. They just take their commission, and after that you deal directly with the rental company, which is sometimes not very easy. There are, of course, specialists that are more likely to offer the best service. Of course, ask for the insurance conditions and for the security deposit. You can ask for the age of the bikes, and if the price is too low, it is probably too low to be true. Here comes the conclusion for those of you who are still watching. Riding in Europe, France, Switzerland or Italy is probably a must in a biker's life. If you have not experienced the roads and the landscapes we have, it's a must. And riding a motorcycle is a great way to visit a country. Don't forget, ride the D roads. As long as you stay off the main roads, you will be happy. The roads are beautiful and they are everywhere. Don't ride too much. 250, 300 kilometers a day are probably a maximum, and you shouldn't ride more than that, or that means you miss a lot of things. There is no bad bike, but choose the one that is the right for you and have fun. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for your patience. This was the first edition. I do my best to improve this over the years. You can ask your questions below. I will do my best to answer, and we hope to see you someday. Bye.